Hello and welcome. On behalf of the whole team here at Elisi, we're so glad you're joining us. We want to talk about our vision for a more equitable future, one where the amazing power of intelligent machines really does benefit everyone, not just a select few. So, let's start with what is probably one of the most important questions of our time. Think about it. AI and automation are creating a staggering amount of wealth, but we have to ask, who should own it? Right now, that wealth is concentrated in the hands of a very small group of people, and honestly, that's a huge challenge for the rest of us. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the core problem with automation. Then we'll dive into our vision for a solution, which we call a dividend state. After that, we'll get into the practical steps for how to make it happen, and then we'll wrap up with how you can be a part of it. So here's the challenge in a nutshell. Automation is making our economy more productive than it's ever been. Productivity is just skyrocketing. But if you look at wages for most people, they've pretty much been flat for decades. That gap between productivity and pay is getting wider and wider, and it really comes down to who owns these new tools. All this value is being created, but it's just not being shared. Okay, so what's the solution? We believe there's a path forward that's both ambitious and totally achievable. Just imagine, for a second, a future where the profits from our collective assets, and that's everything from natural resources to powerful AI, are shared with everybody. Imagine an economy that's actually designed to serve all of us. And that brings us to this core idea, a dividend state. Now, this isn't welfare and it's not charity. It's a completely new economic model. It's a system where our shared wealth, our collective ownership of these incredible assets, provides a solid foundation of security for every single person. It's really a fundamental shift in how we think about what ownership and value even mean in this new world. This chart does a great job of showing the kind of paradigm shift we're talking about. We move from the system we have now, a labor-dependent economy where your security is tied to a job that, let's face it, might disappear, over to a dividend-based system. In this new model, everyone gets a real foundational stake in the automated economy itself. Your income is supplemented by your ownership share. So the big question is, how do we actually get there? This isn't just some far-off dream. There are clear, practical, and scalable ways we can start building this system right now. We see a really powerful three-part approach. First up, we can create national public wealth funds. Think of something like the Alaska Permanent Fund, which pays a dividend from oil money. These funds would hold shares in major AI and robotics companies on behalf of all of us. Second, we can create direct AI dividends, where a slice of the profits from highly automated industries flow straight back to the public. And third, we establish what we call data commons, which finally recognizes that our collective data is an incredibly valuable shared resource and ensures we all get compensated when it's used. Now, for any of this to work, it absolutely has to be built on a foundation of trust. That part is completely non-negotiable. That means radical transparency is baked in from day one. We're talking open source code, real-time public dashboards. You could see exactly where the money comes from and where it goes at any moment. Of course, an idea this big raises some pretty big questions. So we want to tackle the most common ones head-on, and not just with opinions, but with actual evidence from real-world research and pilot programs. The first question we always get is the big one. Can we actually afford this? It's a perfectly fair question, and based on a ton of economic modeling, the answer is a clear and resounding yes. The research shows that a universal dividend program that costs somewhere between 5 to 10% of GDP is well within reach for most countries. This isn't about some huge shock to the system. It's about a manageable, sustainable investment in our collective future. And here's how. The funding doesn't have to come from just one place. It can be a mix of revenue streams that already exist or are emerging right now. We're talking about things like carbon pricing, rents from natural resources, and a rapidly growing base of royalties from the commercial use of our shared data and AI. Okay, another major concern you hear a lot is about what this would do to the idea of work. If people get a basic dividend, will they just stop wanting to contribute? Well, the evidence we have from real-world trials is remarkably consistent, and it tells a very different story. Dividends don't make people stop working. They actually empower them. When that constant financial stress is reduced, people tend to find better jobs, or they go back to school, or they even start their own businesses. And finally, we have to talk about inflation.
If you just give everyone more money, won't prices for everything just go up? It's a really valid concern, and the way this system is designed addresses it directly.
You see, the key is all in the funding mechanism. The risk of inflation is highest when a government just prints new money out of thin air. But this system isn't about that. It's about redistributing existing value from sources like resource rents or AI profits. We're just redirecting purchasing power that's already in the economy, which doesn't create those same inflationary pressures. All right, this brings us to the final and maybe the most important part of this whole conversation: how you can help turn this vision into a reality. Because this kind of big change, it never happens from the top down. It has to be a movement. And the good news is there's a role for absolutely everyone. You could contribute your professional expertise, whether you're an economist or a software developer. You can participate by joining campaigns and advocating for pilot programs in your own community. Or you can offer your support to the amazing organizations already doing this work on the ground. Every little bit helps build this future. So we'll leave you with this final thought. This automated future, it isn't some distant sci-fi concept. It is being built right now, all around us. We have this brief, critical window of opportunity to decide what kind of world these tools will create. So the only real question left isn't whether this can work, it's whether we will choose to build it together. Thank you so much for watching.